All right. So, what are we learning in this video, Marco?
In this video, I'm going to show you how you can make founder ads work so you don't have to keep bitching that it doesn't work for you, how to make flexible ads work on Meta while still getting the data that you need even though Meta doesn't want to give you that data, and how those two things resulted in us, our creatives, becoming the highest spenders with the lowest CPAs in our client's ad account in the last 14 days. So I'm going to show you two creatives, and I want you to tell me which one you think performed better. This is video number 1.
They are Alex and Danny, pretty much majored in meow. 2 years ago, they were working out of a spare bedroom, 12-hour days, full-time jobs on top, and $5 left. Yep, 5. Their rescue cats were bored stiff with big box toys, so they tried something different. Hand-sewn toys, real deal catnip, handwritten note to your cat in every box.
That's version 1. I'm going to show you version 2.
What do you do when you love cats so much that you're willing to risk everything for them? We're the founders of Catbox, and just 2 years ago, we were struggling to grow our business with only $5 left in our business account. But our love for cats was so strong, we knew we had to push through. We started this brand because our own rescue cats were never interested in the cheap pet store junk. So we began handcrafting premium toys and selecting the absolute best treats around that actually got them excited.
Okay. I have a decision already.
All right, tell me.
It's his first video, the video with the Gandalf kind of a voiceover, because it's so relatable. It's so Harry Potter like. It's more like I'm in another world altogether, and the guy is telling me something so secretive that I need to know things about. The caption styles were different, which made me like, oh, it's different than the standard video I watch, which is basically a pattern interrupt. I felt like storytelling with terms of images was done really well. When somebody tells their own story, I feel like it's less authentic when somebody else tell their story. So mine is with the Gandalf one.
I thought so too. I thought that was going to be the winner. But it turns out the one using the founder's actual voice was the one that performed better. And it was the one that significantly outperformed. It became the third highest spender in the ad account at the lowest CPA they've seen in 90 days. I was very, very shocked by that. I thought the first one is the one that would work better because it's more unique. It looks different from a lot of the other founder videos that you might find on online and what people are showing on X. But that video was significantly outperformed the other one. On organic, I believe the other one did better. The lesson here for me is it all comes back down to sort of the basics, right? It's just tell a good story, even if the visuals aren't the greatest, even if the captions aren't the greatest. People get interested in the storyline, right? It's what do you do when you love cats so much that you would risk everything for them, right? That's a pretty big hook that most people are going to, especially if you have a cat or love cats, are going to be interested by. And then from there, transitioning it to like, oh, we only had $5 in our bank account left. We literally risked everything, right? You're confirming the click. You're confirming their buy-in. I think the simplicity of that video and the way that it was structured worked really, really well. And then we have that strong call to action at the end where if you do buy a box, a portion gets donated as well. So
yeah, that was amazing.
You're basically making them feel good about their purchase. And all those things combined, right? It's strong hook, confirming the click, building the desire, and then ultimately making them feel good about clicking and going to the site to ultimately shop is what I think made this ad work really, really well.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Something that most people will think when they watch the video, both videos, right? When you watch the video, like, how did you thought about coming up with two different? Tell me a little bit backstory and behind the scenes. Like, how did you come up with both of these? What was the hypothesis?
The hypothesis was we just had onboarded this client, and in the onboarding call, we usually ask a couple of questions about their story. And our creative strategist, or one of our creative strategists, her name is Alex. Something struck her when they were talking about, we literally risked everything for this business. He still works full time. She was working full time when they first started. They grew it to the point where she could quit. But along the way, they literally, and they shaved the screenshot, they had $5 in their business bank account. So there was literally the highs and lows. Now it's $1 million business. They literally this week crossed, I think, 90K in MRR on this. So good, solid growth. But the story is what struck us. And so we really wanted to tell their story as to, them and how this related to the product. And so we tied it in from, okay, it's not just a founder story of like, oh, I started this business because, XYZ. It's, we had this problem, i.e., the cats that they had that were adopted were bored with the toys that they were buying at Petco and whatever, right? That's the problem. But they also had this really interesting story. So we combined both storytelling with problem solution product, right? And so that was the initial idea. And then from there, we basically wanted to come up with multiple different versions of the same concept, and take it to the extreme, right? So the second video that we saw was much more standard. It was the founder telling the founder story in the founder's voice. The second video was much more a narrator, like you said, Gandalf telling their story. And so that's the extreme version of this, right? We have a little bit more for playful. We have some meme edits in there, et cetera, et cetera. And so we wanted to try both, the little bit more unique extreme version and then the more standard version that people are more comfortable with. And that's basically how we came to the idea of running this as an ad.
How many variation did you have for each of them?
3.
And so I'll tell you the problem with founder ad. With founder ad, the biggest problem is that most of the founders, the reason why they started the business is not the reason why they're selling the product. Because they wanted to start a product. This was the easiest product to get started. Maybe it was something they were passionate about. So telling the founder story sometimes, especially when you have immediate product market fit for a product which you did not have a purpose like this with cats, right? How do you think about it?
I think that's a really good question, because I think most people go wrong is in their storytelling of their why as to why they started the business, right? If you look at a lot of the founder videos, it's very factual, matter of fact. We started this business because we had this problem. It doesn't actually do a good job of making this problem relatable through storytelling to the actual end user. And so I think that's the important part that often gets missed is, yes, you may have started this business because we could have done this video being like, we started this business because our cats were bored at home. They never played with any toys, et cetera, et cetera. But instead we kind of flipped it on its head and we started with a really strong hook, telling the story, saying, what do you do when you love cats so much that you would risk everything for them? So we're starting with a storytelling hook. From there, we then go into not immediately problem or solution, like we started this business because XYZ, but instead we build the foundation of a good story, right? We tell them, hey, we almost ran out of money while doing this. That gets people to stay and be like, oh, did they run out of money? Did this business succeed? Did it not? Right? So we're basically at every stage, every few seconds, we're basically getting them to continuously buy in, right? So it's a yes or no. It's pretty binary. So at the hook stage, do they buy in? Is this interesting? Yes. They continue watching. Great. Then we go to the confirm the click part. So the storytelling about having $5 in your bank account. Yes or no? Is that interesting? Yes, it is interesting. Is that going to keep someone to stay? Yes. Then we sort of continue forward. And through that storytelling, only then at the end going into the problem solution section, I think really helped this founder ad exceed. Versus most people will go like, my cat was bored at home, which is why I started this business, rather than telling the story of how it all happened with the highs and the lows.
Okay, I have something for you to show you.
Well, I always say that I want to invent a comfortable stiletto. We put a man on the moon. Somebody needs to invent a comfortable high heel.
I've been dreaming about creating a comfortable high heel since, well, I started wearing them.
I literally had to take my shoes off, okay? Well, super not cool.
In this video, when you watch the video, the founder, she has a real problem. So you said like, why started my business? When you watch the video, if you run it on ads, I'm pretty sure must have done really well, because she talks about like how men were creating the high heel shoes, and that's why she started the business. And that's such a relatable aha moment kind of a point of view from the founder that I feel like it will work. So I wanted to know your opinion. Is this why not the right why?
For her, I think it would work. She has enough of a reach. Everybody knows who she is. She has money that she can put behind this campaign to really make it work.
But I'm talking about the POV. I'm talking about the POV. I'm not talking about the ad. I'm talking POV.
I think the POV is fine. It depends on it kind of depends on the awareness level that a brand might have. If you're a new brand, I think that would not work very well. If you need to do a little bit more on the personal side, because people are really buying into the personas behind the brand. That's why you see, If we look at brands like Represent, Elwood, Nude Project, all clothing brands, but a lot of them people are buying because of the founders and the personas that the founders exhibit, right? Especially if you're a smaller brand, I think that's super important. And so if you're a smaller brand, you can't get away with what she would get away with in terms of her why. I think the why here needs to be significantly more personal. So it just depends on the stage. If you're Spanx or
So,
whatever it might
so
be, it makes
let's
sense.
just say you have 2 minutes to tell everything about the founder ads you've learned. What will you tell?
Make the story relatable to your end customer, to the viewer. Don't start with the problem that you're looking to solve. Start with an interesting hook that builds the story, builds the foundation of a story. Oh, and confirm the click. I think that's super important. Most ads forget this. And what I mean with confirm the click is if somebody's scrolling through social media and they stop and pause, right? Or hook rate, or whatever you want to call it. A lot of people will then immediately go into like an AIDA framework, awareness, interest, desire, whatever it might be. Instead, one thing that I think often people miss, especially on founder videos, because they're a little bit more personal, is getting additional buy-in from the customer, right? So the way that we do that here is through the $5 in our bank account. We're building the story to be stronger. So we're confirming it's worth their time to stay, that it's going to be an interesting story. And I think that's the part that gets missed a lot as well. So confirm the click. And then ultimately, you have to make sure the problem with founder ads is that they're often a little bit too brand aware rather than product aware. And so make sure that you find the right balance between showing what the brand is all about and why the founder started this, but you still have to build awareness and desire for them to click to ultimately buy. And so you have to make sure that towards the end or second half of the video that you bring in product specific things.
When does a founder ad does not make sense at all?
When you don't have a story to tell.
Okay. Can you fabricate a story? Like
Yes. You look at
native.
Victoria's Secret, that entire story is fabricated. At Victoria's Secret, the story that's being told, or when they first started, that's being told, isn't true. It was founded by some dude rather than who had some experience in garments and whatever, and clearly knew what the customers wanted. But he understood that the story that he was going to tell, i.e., I wanted to get rich off selling women lingerie, wasn't going to work. So he came up with a whole elaborate story about the angels and the founder story. If you go to their website or look at the history of their website on archive, you'll see it's a completely different story than the reality one. So yes, you can make it up. You just have to be careful with the fine line between, fully made up and just telling a good story.
Okay. So I've tried multiple founder stories where there was a logical reason of the founder. They started the business, they tried to tell it, and it did not work. And whenever it has not worked for me, I have realized the reason why it has not worked is because the founder is not the persona.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that was number one.
Yeah.
And I used to think founder story is the easiest way to get started. But it's the easiest, but the most hardest to pull off. The second thing is the founder is not the even the founder understands the market, and founder created this product based on the understanding the market. But the founder really cannot tell the story really well. That's the other thing. The third thing I've seen is when a founder doesn't resonate is that because when the founder was the customer and now is no more the customer himself. And the fourth time is when, for example, the baby product that I have, you cannot use like where baby is a selling point, not the founder himself. And it has not worked. So I feel like whenever you're making founder ad videos, it has to be, you have to come up with these criteria and what Marco has told you, and then probably it will fit to the founder story. Because I've seen like Ridge Wallet story, I've seen like some other founder ads as well, and I try to collect all the founder ads, how to tell the story. And sometimes, so for what with you, the founders tell the stories really well. Sometimes what I've worked is other people tell the stories of the founder is way better than founder telling himself, because founder
Yeah.
is not charismatic, or founder is not the customer, or founder is not somebody who's like immediately relatable.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, I love what you just said about the founder not being the end customer anymore. I think that's one of the harder ones to get work. But if you make the founder seem relatable in the video, it can work. And I'll give you the example. We've talked about this client that we have where, you send them kids art, they turn it into a book, right? We tried founder ads for them. And one of the hooks that the creative team wanted to use, his creative team, whichever he had hired at the time, wanted to use was how we built this business into a 7 or into an 8-figure business in whatever months, right? It's like, okay, finance bros would care about that, or like you and I would maybe care about that. That might be an interesting story for us, but it's not going to be what a mom who's buying this is going to relate to. And so that's where you go wrong. Yes, they did a good job telling the story factually, but they didn't build the story for their persona, right? And so you can build it even if he's a guy selling to, moms, it can work. And we got a founder video to work. We just had to change the approach, and sort of, instead of saying how we built this business, it's how an argument with my wife resulted in us building a business that's loved by over 10,000 moms, or whatever it might be, right? And so that change of framing, definitely, I think, is super important.
Good. Anything else you want to talk about the founder ad?
Founder ad, no.
Okay, so that's all the episode was all about. Until then, bye bye.